They call gold and silver God's money. So if you're thinking of buying precious metals or switching your 401k to gold without a penalty, head on over to thegoldshow.com now. The link is in the description below.
Hello and welcome. Today we've got Ben Pellom, and we are going to be discussing the buildings that Ben found on the moon. Now, just before we begin, you can subscribe to our Telegram channels and to nicholasveniamin.com for my free email updates. And if you're watching this for the first time on YouTube, I will leave the link below in the description for the full interview, unless, of course, myself and Ben can choose our words wisely due to the insane censorship that's happening right now. Ben, thank you for joining me. How are you and what have you been up to?
I'm very well, and about all I've been up to is research on my planetary research, but on balance, I'm doing well, and I hope you are too, Mick.
Absolutely. Now, I'm very interested, and the viewers must be very interested to learn what's going on the moon, how you found those buildings, what technology you used. You know, how did you, I'm just going to let you do a small presentation and tell us what you found and your journey, and then we can go ahead with some questions. How does that sound?
That'll be fine. To give you some background on this, about 2 years ago, maybe just a little over, my son and I we were discussing whether UFOs were and extraterrestrials were real or not. And he had believed that they were since he was a young boy. And so I'm inquisitive. So I set out to try to find out as much as I could whether they did exist or not, if they did relate to us here on Earth. And I started subscribing to about everybody that's connected with ufology. It's a list as long. But I came on to a man named Herbert Klein. He's from the Netherlands. And Herbert had come up with some wonderful finds around the world looking for extraterrestrials. And then one of his locations that I was especially interested in was above Canada, North Canada, in the Arctic up there. It was an underwater installation or complex up there. So he had put his coordinates down on the video. So I got on, took the coordinates and went up there and zoomed in using, in this case, Google Earth Pro. And I was able to zoom in tight, but I noticed I could get a little closer, and I did. I got closer. And I had a couple of computer programs that I use for photos. One of them is Zara. It's, I think, European software. And the other was Photoscape X Pro, and Microsoft sells it. And by the way, both can be bought for less than $100 if people find that their Photoshop and GIMP doesn't do the work for them. But anyway, I was able to get those images very well, and it made me interested to find more of them. So I started looking around in the water bodies of the world, and in Antarctica especially, I was able to find a lot of things down there. I have the images for my earthly stuff posted on etishere.com. It's a companion website that I built. And you'll find the things I was able to get to zooming tightly in. I would go like Mawson Station, for instance. It's an Australian station in the Antarctic. And I get down there and I found lots of good stuff there. And to do that, I had to consider the time of the year, time of the day, and so on in the settings of the Google Earth Pro. And I ended up with some interesting underwater complexes that I consider to be extraterrestrial or either joint bases down there. So that's kind of how I got onto it. And I got kind of better and better. And I thought, why don't I take my methods to the moon and to Mars and to other planets? And on the moon is where I had by far the most success, but I couldn't get there with Google Earth Pro. They have an algorithm written into their satellite technology that will blur out whatever you're trying to find. It's almost like they just take paint and paint over everything where you zoom into a place. So I thought, well, why don't I use the Microsoft client? It's called the Worldwide Telescope client. So I used it to go up to the moon and go to these places of interest and zoom down and mostly through the shadows, what can be considered shadows. I was able to pull the images up out of those shadows. And that's how I actually was able to find at least 24 separate industrial complexes. I've documented at least 24 thus far on the moon. It's a long background, but that's kind of where I got to it. And my success was with the Worldwide Telescope. But the thing about it, you have to be inventive to use it. It does not give you, it will not let you put in coordinates and go anywhere. And it does not readily identify any place you're looking at on the moon. So I had to go to Google Earth Pro, pull up the site topographically side by side and find it on the Worldwide Telescope app. Then once I had it, the name of something I wanted to go into, then I knew that was the place. And then I would label that and then zoom in and get the pictures. But I have some beautiful, beautiful pictures we can look at later in the show if you'd like. And I know your viewers, many of them would probably enjoy seeing them. I hope they will anyway.
Well, let's have a look at the pictures now. If you could share your screen and then you could talk us through the photos. Okay. And give us a short presentation with those, please.
All right. Let's see if I can get here. Okay, I'll get rid of this here. Oh, we're looking here at some of my industrial complexes. This one is at Hermite Crater. Hermite Crater is in the north polar area. Got lots of beautiful photos from that particular place. And you see the alleyway there, Nick, that I told you about going down through there. It's always present. And here's another closer up of Hermite Crater. And then I'll zoom on down. This is a beautiful one here. This is in the North Polar area. I'm trying to think, that's probably going to be, if I could get my stuff out here, it's probably it's in the North Polar area anyway, and I'm not seeing my paper here too good. It could be on the northeast edge of Bird Crater, where lots of good things are. But in this particular photo, it's very interesting. Here's another one of Hermite Crater. And another one there of Hermite Crater.
I mean, what I can see, Ben, this looks like a city. It looks like it's a big city.
Yes, it is. You can't, yes, sir, you can't put a toothpick in it. It is so dense with stuff. And here's some of the stuff here that's let's see where we got it at. It's in the South Polar area, Nick. This one is, and it has a version of I guess it's a transport system or a tunnelway running through it as well. And people in your audience that want to find these things can go to Pellom, planetaryresearch.com. On the picture page, moon pictures at the bottom, I give detailed instructions on how anybody can do this. And then if they do try it with their Photoshop and with GIMP and don't have the success they want, then I have listed on there the place they can get the software that will let them bring out the image. Okay, this is another interesting picture here in the South Polar area. This is amazing right here. I think because that machinery there, whatever it is awesome. And as we go on down a little bit more, that picture there is not so good. This is another one east of Hermite Crater. This is really an unusual looking one here in the South Polar area. Anybody's guess what they're doing here, but it does have that look like a tunnel or alleyway. And we get here, we're still in with the Hermite Crater pictures. There were so many in there that the pictures were so good, I captured lots of them. There's a good image. Okay, this is probably the same area that we didn't have labeled a minute ago. This is on the edge of Plaskett Crater. It's in the North Polar area. And Plaskett, P-L-A-S-K-E-T-T crater has a lot going on there, Nick. Lots going on there. Beautiful, unusual looking machinery or whatever they're doing there. And Hermite Crater keeps showing up as I put these together. This is another beautiful image. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I was going to ask, do you think these buildings are very similar to our building structures in on this earth?
No, I personally don't. I really don't have analogy. But as we go through the pictures there, you will see that many of them show huge tanks, kind of like butane tanks of different sizes. So I can only assume they are either manufacturing some kind of chemical or gas there, or either bringing it in for use. But that is very similar to what we have here on the Earth. Other than that, everything I'm seeing looks like a vast factory. Is what it looks to me like. And this is unusual here. Nick, this is 14 miles west of Titov Crater. It's a Russian area. And I find it interesting because it appears to be, even though its buildings are topographic in nature, it appears to be find anything that repeats in here. It does look like some kind of alphabet or some kind of code. So I put it in here because of that. It's on the backside of the moon. This is another one of those really unusual looking factory here. You look in there, you see some of these tanks I was telling you about, look like butane tanks or something. You can kind of see quite a few of those in there. And there's the alleyway that's always present in practically every picture. That's another picture there, isn't it? Of the northern polar area. And another one. This is a south polar area here. Unusual stuff here. I can only assume that if one were to zoom in closer or could zoom in closer here, I think this may have been deeper down. And the satellite technology it'll blur if you get too close to the ground. So to me, that would be the reason that this is from the surface. But it's interesting. It looks like machinery wall to wall. And there's another plastic crater, a photo here. We've got these photos stretched, as you know, and smaller versions of them are much clearer. This is another South Polar area, very unusual looking, looks to me like, again, machinery or something like that. And another one, and yet another one in the South Polar area. And we're back at Plastic Crater for the more things that are in there. And I found quite a bit to choose from in Plastic. I've got so many photos, Nick, that frankly, it's kind of hard to choose between them at this point. There's just so much of it, and I'm just so amazed that the Lord has let me see this, let me find it, and get at it. And here's the unusual tunnel alleyway here. This one looks like it's like a covered tunnel here that they bring things in and out. It's down in the South Polar Rim. This is a beautiful one here and a mysterious one to me, Nick. You see the design on that? It's almost like jewelry. In the center of it, it looks like gold braid or some kind of braid comes over the center, and then it has the same things on either side. It almost looks to me like a necklace of some sort. Mm. This is the most unusual one that I've come across in my research. This is another one of the South Polar areas here that's just wall to wall, absolutely wall to wall. And then we come on down to another plastic crater. And let's see, I don't know if I have this one labeled or not. We do know that it's in the north polar rim area. Some of them are not named, Nick, because some of them are found where the topography is not named, like a name of a given crater. Some of the things I'm finding, it's in the places that are not named even on Google Earth Pro, so that all I can do is put that it's in the North Polar area. And again, we come on down and you stop me anytime you want to. Talked about the tanks that I told you about. Mm-hmm. This is amazing right here. This looks like a butane tank farm right here to me. You see all those tanks there? It's amazing stuff. They just about have to be bringing things in or either filling these tanks and shipping them out. This is all I can reason. And then we have another one in the North Polar area with all these beautiful tanks in it. You can see the various tanks in these pictures here in the North Polar area. Right. And then this one, I'm sorry. Oh, no, this one is in the North Polar area here. I just have so much, Nick. It's just amazing to me that I was able to find all this stuff. And I take it as a blessing from the Lord because I'm not specially trained in anything technical. Absolutely. This has some marvelous machinery in it, a very unusual amount. And I'll keep going if you'd like. And this is another unusual one in the South Polar area. The alleyway normally is in a straight line, but this one curves for whatever reason. There in the South Pole, and there's, by the way, I counted them a minute ago. It looks like I have 16 industrial complexes in the north hemisphere, and then another 8 in the south hemisphere. And the better photos that I'm able to get are coming out of the north hemisphere as far as obvious machinery and everything is concerned. Most of what I've got in the south hemisphere is at a more distance, but you can tell that it's intelligent design just by looking at the photo. So if you would like me to, I'll skip on over to the next. We'll look at a few here on the next. This is where I had to do a little workaround to get here. Page 2. Let's see if if I did the right thing there.
So Ben, let me ask you this: are these buildings on the surface of the moon?
Yes, that's a good question, Nick. That's a very good question. There's one of two things happening here. I know we've been lied to a lot about what's on the moon and on out into outer space, but for me to see these and to get them, if they're either under a transparent dome of sorts, or either they're above ground and actually maybe breathing the atmosphere, as John Lear maintains that there's a breathable atmosphere on the moon. He thinks it's rather thin, but that you can acclimate to it, he thinks, in his research. But I think it's got to be one of the two. If the moon is as cold as what they say it is, it's to me, this stuff looks like it's on the surface, and it couldn't be there if it was just hellishly cold. I don't guess the workers would not be here working these yards in hellishly cold weather. If I had to pick two between the two options, I would think that it's under a transparent dome of sorts. And then that transparent dome then would let me see in and bring out the pictures. And it's just turned out this way. The Microsoft people that come out with the Worldwide Telescope out, it just, I'm sure they were ordered to, but they just didn't do a good enough job to hide everything like Google Earth Pro did, because you can't find, scarcely anything you can actually get at on using the Google Earth Pro app. And so I was able to actually exploit what I think maybe was a weakness in the algorithm setup, or in when they painted over the satellite maps and to make their globe. And so then I think that's what happened. They just didn't paint it thick enough. The software I had could lift these images up through it. I know we're talking moon today, but I have the most mysterious thing I've ever found was Uranus. Sometime, if you have an opportunity on the opening page of Pellom planetaryresearch.com, you'll see why it's the most mysterious thing I've seen. I actually called the Worldwide Telescope support team and asked them if they actually used NASA photos to make that globe that's in the Worldwide Telescope app, and they said yes. So if that is a yes and it's true, then what I've found on Uranus is astounding. It has like a combination lock, big one. It's wider than the diameter of the Earth on both poles, and it's really, really mysterious. It looks like some kind of a big machine. It's either in use or has been in use as a machine up there. And so I'll get back to the moon now, but I was just going to tell you, that's one other thing that I found with the Worldwide Telescope out that is very, very different, very different.
Ben, can you please explain to the viewers what a Uranus is, please?
Well, it's a gas giant, and it's pronounced Uranus, and
Uranus, sorry.
also in some quarters, and then in polite settings they call it Uranus. So it is one of the gas planets. It's a huge planet, and its exact size I'm not sure, but it is huge. And I did do some figuring, and I find that that combination lock that appears on both ends is wider than the than Earth is in diameter. And who would build a combination lock like that on the planet, and why? So it's something down the line maybe I'll get the answer to as I keep working on it.
So when you say there are people on the moon, and you referenced that some people are working there in factories and stuff. Who do you what beings do you think they are? Are they the Greys? I mean, what do you think?
That's a wonderful question, Nick, and I've wondered about it because I've seen so many people, and I've watched your show for quite a while, and I've seen comments about the various races that are there from different people, and I can't get them all in my mind right now, but I have listened to them talk that there are many races there, and there's a lunar operations center there, and some say that that's operated by the United States Navy and has been for many, many years. And so I think as best I can think, there probably are several races there, like they all seem to say, and they're using the moon. If I'm seeing what I'm seeing around in different places on the surface, there must be a lot going on inside the moon, because most of your experts, your scientists say the moon is too light, that it must be hollow. And we've all heard the stories that it has multi-stories all through the moon. It's just kind of like shelving, if you will, or floors. And then some say the moon was actually brought and put into place where it is because it's the composition of its soil doesn't match the soil of Earth, for instance. And so a lot of them think that it was brought there and put there maybe eons ago, So it turned out to be I'm as I got into studying this stuff, mm-hmm. Because of the things I was seeing, like Herbert Klein's underwater stuff, and then I've gone on and found quite a bit of underwater stuff in Chile, and then I found some more up in the Canadian area also, like he did. So that was my background on this, Nick. I'm kind of rambling around here a little bit, but I have so much proof of it. Is what's amazing to me, just out here doing this,
So going forward, towards creating a new world and a free world to the new age, draining the swamp, if you like. what do you think should happen to the moon? What do you think the white hats should be thinking about when considering these factors that you've presented today in respect to what to do with the moon?
I think people, my personal feeling on it is anybody that's certainly under 50 years old, 50 and under, will maybe even go to the moon. They'll certainly be invited up into starships and things like that. I don't think we're too far away personally from a big starship showing itself and then maybe bringing the people up to it. So I think if we've got the United States Navy there and the Space Force, I think they're going to have a massive presence there, and then it's just a question of time until people from Earth can go there and come back from there. I'm trying to think of one of the people on Gaia that was put under. He was hypnotized. Jason Rice, I believe is his name, and I remember the lady that did the hypnosis on him. He was in the Secret Space Force for 20 and back, and he talked about going to the moon, and she said, "Where did you leave from?" Her name is Barbara. Gosh, I can't get the last name. She's well known though. She's asking, said, "Where did you leave from?" And he said, "Out there in Nevada." What is the one they talk about, Nick? It's not functioning too well this morning. It's the famous place out there in Nevada that everybody goes down in, and but he's in that area, and he said he walked. It's like going through an elevator, and she said, "How long did it take to get to the moon?" And he said, "About a minute, if that," is what he said. And he did this under hypnosis. So he backed up what Randy Kramer, another Secret Space Force person, talked a lot about.
Right, Ben, I actually own a Nikon camera P1000, and I can zoom in on, across the land here on Earth, and I know how far my zoom can go, and I know where it can stop up to. And then I've zoomed into the moon, and I can see the moon very up close and the craters and everything. And I'm adamant personally that the moon is not 238,000 miles away, as NASA tells us.
Wow.
I believe it's a lot closer than that.
That's very interesting. Go ahead, Nick. That's interesting.
No, that's what I was going to say. I think that it's a lot closer. And President Eisenhower's great-granddaughter, who I interviewed just a few weeks ago, she claims that there is a possible alien colony inside of the moon, and that it rings a vibration with Saturn, and it's put Earth on a energy grid, if you like, where they harvest our energies, and our energies are harvested into a black cube onto Saturn, and that she reckons that the moon should just blow up. What are your thoughts about that?
Pardon me? What was your question now?
Well, go on.
No, you go ahead, Nick. I want to make sure that I understood your question.
Sure. So I interviewed the President Eisenhower's great-granddaughter, Laura
Yes.
Eisenhower, and she claims that, that there is an alien colony in the moon, and they're watching us, and it's an artificial, material, and it's not part of our solar system. And she says that it would be great if it just blew up, as in we just demolished the moon. What are your thoughts about that?
I don't want to do that because I want to go to the moon.
Right.
We need to keep it, Nick, until we get a chance to go there. I do not doubt what she said, though, at all. I have studied this and listened to videos for a couple of years on different people that's in ufology. Dr. Sala, I follow him, and Dr. Greer, and all these guys, Emery Smith, I follow them, follow you. And I think we're going to end up going to the moon, but I hope Laura's wish doesn't come true before we can get there.
Yeah.
Check it out.
So if these photos that you found obviously are true, and there is something going on the moon, and there are other extraterrestrials there, how do we know that they're not bad? And if they are bad, why do you still want to go to the moon?
I think our Space Force that's been formed, my personal feeling is, has a great presence there, and probably will have even a greater presence there. And the talk about the Galactic Federation of Worlds also, in some cases, has talked about the moon. And as I understand it, singled out the United States to represent the Earth among the other nations. And some of the other nations that, as I understand it, are throwing in with that, supporting that concept that the United States would represent Earth to the Galactic Federation of Worlds. Now, I'm not deep into this. These are things that I hear people talking about. So I think, frankly, I think the peace will be, it will be kept by force if needed by the Galactic Federation and our Space Force. So I think we get there, we'll be peaceful, because these from one pole to the other, I think it's over 2,000 miles on the moon. And here's a guy sitting on a farm in Georgia, and I'm finding similar industrial complexes, especially on the poles. The rims is where most of the stuff I'm finding. I found some things, Nick, that didn't make the cut with me, but they were clear enough to know that they were industrial complexes. But the photos just weren't as good. I had so many that I didn't go ahead and copy them down. But I've got 24 solid ones now, and I think I maybe could find another 8 or 10 anyway before it's over, before I've finished looking in there, or before before Microsoft sends the people in with their paint buckets and paints over the shadows again. Because in your audience, you have a lot of people. I know you have more than 600,000 subscribers, and I compliment you for that. It's wonderful to see that. I would like to actually ask the people, as many as possible, to go to my website, PellomPlanetaryResearch.com, get on the moon pictures. Down below, you'll see a short screen capture video showing how you can use the Worldwide Telescope out to go to Hermite Crater. I use as an example. It was in the opening pictures we saw earlier. It'll show them how to locate. They can see how to locate it, how to zoom in and lift out the photos. And I tell them, that both the Photoscape X Pro and the Zara Photo and Graphic Designer, the new versions of it's called now, can be bought, or at least one of them, the Photoscape X Pro, can be bought for only $39.99 US. And the Zara Photo and Graphic Designer, it was on sale too for $39.99. So well under $100 when you compare that price to buying yourself Photoshop, for instance, which is much more expensive. But somehow, between these two softwares, and I use the Zara program for step one, and all I do is just hit the lighting, maybe a touch of contrast. The picture starts all the way. You can see what's there. But that's as far as you can get with it. Then I copy it, paste it into Photoscape X Pro, and just in a zip, you got your photo. So in your audience, people that like to do things like this and who would like to experience going to the moon, locating a place and acquiring their own images, I just say have at it. And if your Photoshop fails you, it's less than $100 to put you in business. My email address is B as in Baker, P as in Paul, ELLOM @gmail.com. And it's also on both websites, Pellom planetaryresearch.com and on etishere.com. And I'll be glad to take questions from any of you people in the audience that have difficulty in acquiring their own images. I'd like to see every one of your subscribers go and get those images. I want the genie so far out of the box, disclosure wise, that it cannot be put back into the box. That's my driving motivation in all of this. I want to be able to help with disclosure to the world's population.
Absolutely. Well, Ben, thank you very much. I also want to ask you, everything that you've presented today, what is your personal conclusion of it all?
Conclusion of
what do you think the situation is? What do you think's happening? You know, with what's happening on the moon, you know, do you think humans are there? Do you think it's extraterrestrials? Why are there buildings there? Is it a planet? There's life there? You know, are they good? Are they bad? What's your whole conclusion? What's your story of what you believe is happening right now with the moon?
I think it's a very, very busy place. I think there are many, many races of beings there. And as Tony Rodriguez, who is a slave to the Mars Germans for a long time, as you know, Nick, he had been to the moon also, and they actually, the ships go into, I guess, huge openings in the moon that look like shadows to us. And he said everything was going on internally in the moon. Jason Rice talked at length about that, and Kramer talked about it. Emery Smith has talked about it, and Corey Good has talked about it. And then, of course, the research of people like Dr. Sala, pretty deep into that, as you know. And so I think it's a beehive, to be frank with you. And I believe there's order there. I think it will be enforced. And I would be willing to go tomorrow.
Wow.
Take my chances.
Absolutely. Well, Ben Pellom, thank you very much. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to the viewers before we finish?
Yes, I do want to thank the viewers. I especially want to thank you. And Michelle Fielding endeared herself to me for life because she hooked the two of us up.
She did.
And I'm so thankful to her too. And thankful to you too, Nick. My final words are just remember my email address is on pellomplanetaryresearch.com. Go there and look at the little screen capture video for those who want to capture images on the moon. And once you get there, go out there and do it. And the quicker, the better. The quicker, the better. We want the genie out of the box.
Absolutely. Ben, thank you very much. It's been an absolute honor. I really enjoyed our interview. We'll speak very soon, and God bless you. Bye-bye.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me on, Nick, and your audience too, and Michelle Fielding as well.
Thank you.